It's Thursday, July 9th, 2020. Let's get right into it today. So much happening. We continue to get more bad news regarding the U.S. economy and the U.S. consumer. Dow Jones was down 361 points today. It should have been down well over 1,000. Just with the updates that I gave you yesterday with what's happening to this economy and the news we get today, jobless claims, 1.3 million. So this Thursday, today, we got the jobless numbers, and we just added another 1.3 million Americans to the toll. Again, Dow Jones should have been down well over 1,000 points today. Here's an article today in The Hedge. Almost 50 million Americans have now filed for first-time jobless benefits. In 16 weeks, 50 million Americans have filed for unemployment. What happens when the $600 CARES Act stops July 31st? What is going to happen when these people get a 61% cut in their benefits? This is going to be very eye-opening, ladies and gentlemen. Look, there's so much going on. People commented down below that knew people in the repo business, just saying how busy it was, how busy the repo business is right now. It's going to get busier. People writing in saying they were having the same problems with their Bank of America ATMs in other states and right here in California. So what is going on? Is everybody, I'm hearing different things, but are we witnessing people just running and pulling out cash right now? Is this why the ATMs are empty of cash? Yet Bank of America is blaming everything on the infection. And that they're not able to access cash because of the infection and all this baloney? Or is it people are grabbing the cash out of those ATMs as fast as they're putting it in and they're empty? There's just a lot of uncertainty taking place right now. All I can say is I hope that every one of you is preparing. Here's another article today. California utterly failing as 2 million residents waiting for unemployment checks. This is another reminder of why you better not trust the government being there for you in a time of emergency. The government is failing you right now. The system is failing you. If there's one word of advice I can give you today is detach as much as you can out of this system. Detach from the banks. Keep the very minimal amount just to pay bills in your bank accounts. But the best thing I think you can do right now is detach as much as you can from the system. Be as self-reliant as possible and rely very little on the banks and the system. 2 million Californians have been waiting for their checks since the beginning of this whole shutdown. The backlog is absolutely horrendous. People have been out of work for months, and they're saying in the article here on The Hedge that phone lines at the EDD are busy all day. Every time people call, it's busy. You can't get a response. Nobody's calling back. The website doesn't work. And in the article, it says people are borrowing money from family members just to get by. And if they didn't do this, they would be on the street. Californians have depleted their life savings. They've gone severely into debt. And they are getting to a point where they are unable to feed their families. Millions of people right here in the state of California. Look, the websites are down. The phone lines are down. The system is going down. Do not be reliant on the system. The system is broken. And as things continue to get more chaotic, the system is going to break down even more. So don't trust in the system. It is not going to be there for you. Don't trust in the financial system, the banking system. It's not going to be there for you. And if you're going to trust on the government to come and save you, you're going to be in really, really bad shape. And what's really alarming, that while all this is taking place, while we're watching small business after small business after small business permanently shut down, restaurants shut down, the small mom and pop retailers shut down, we're seeing all the vacant buildings across America. There was an article that came out yesterday, and it's titled "The Billionaires and Country Clubs That Received Small Business Loans from the Government." So who's getting all the money? Who's getting all the help? Well, this article kind of points out who these entities are. The recipients had access to other sources of capital, yet they took advantage of the system. The system is helping them. It's not helping you. 400 country clubs and golf resorts received triple P funding. Billionaire developer Joe Farrell, famed for building and renting mega mansions in the Hamptons, received a triple P loan of up to $1 million. This is a guy that rents his homes for millions of dollars. Some of these homes rent for like $1 million a month, something crazy out there in the Hamptons. I think he rented a home for the summer for $2 million. Yet this guy took advantage of the system and got $1 million. The Greenbrier Hotel, which operates the famed luxury resort in West Virginia and is owned by billionaire West Virginia Governor Jim Justice, received $5 to $10 million. Here's another one. Gore's Vitac Holdings. Part of this company is controlled by tech billionaire Alec Gores. This company received $5 to $10 million. How about Kanye West with his company Yeezy fashion brand, received $2 to $5 million. Private jet companies received hundreds of millions of dollars under the aviation program of the CARES Act. And how about the dirtbag Robert De Niro, who's part owner of the world famous Nobu restaurant chain and hotel chain? $28 million. $28 million. Yet right here on CNBC, households need those tax refunds to cover their rent, survey shows. So while all of the multimillionaires and billionaires and famous people, multi-mega rich people like Robert De Niro get bailed out, get triple P loans, when they had other sources of capital, these mega rich people dipped into the system, took advantage of the system, while the small business owner, while the guy that owns a little chicken restaurant or a little pizzeria is in big trouble. They're not getting the help. But households in America are in big trouble. And are they going to get the help? They're sitting in a frozen economy, jobless, broke, eating up whatever savings they may have, and we are going to see big trouble here. Household expenses, mortgage and rent, bills and food now rank in the top 3 plans for refunds. You know, back in the day, didn't people, when they got their tax refund, didn't they use it to put down on a new car, take a vacation, take those refunds and put that cash away and save it? Not today. They're going to use their tax refunds to survive, to pay the rent, to pay the mortgage, to pay for food, to pay for necessities, to pay for survival. While the rich get richer, while the rich take advantage of the system. Again, this is really going to lead up to some very, very bad times in America, very dangerous times coming to America. So how about this? If this isn't telling you what is happening today, look, the writing is on the wall. Also on the hedge today, Wells Fargo now demands clients who refi jumbo mortgages have at least $1 million balance. Wells Fargo, just like so many banks, know that massive mortgage defaults are coming, and that's why Wells Fargo is tightening mortgage standards with their new clients and laying off thousands of employees by the end of this year. What do they know? What does Wells Fargo know that the average American or the average consumer doesn't know? Well, they know that the housing industry is going to burst. The bubble is going to burst. The commercial real estate market is bursting right now, right before our very eyes. They know exactly what's coming and they are preparing for it, just like most of you are doing. Look, I don't know who's going to be surprised when this whole thing does collapse. I'm certainly not going to be. I'm not looking forward to it. I can tell you that. These are going to be very dangerous times. You know, we talk about gold prices and silver prices. When all hell does break loose, gold and silver is going to the moon. There is no doubt about it. Everybody is going to run to safety, and that is going to be gold. That's going to be silver. That's going to be other assets. But gold and silver, the two most undervalued assets on planet Earth, are going to be the two financial assets that people are going to run to. And there's just not going to be enough to go around. But people are going to be looking for safety. And this is why it's so imperative that you're protecting yourself financially, not just physically and spiritually, but also financially. What we are going to experience is going to be absolutely chaotic. And going back to what I was saying, when prices of these metals get absolutely out of control, when there are food shortages, when people are starving, when family members are starving, and when gold and silver prices go to the moon, these are going to be very extreme times in America. And look, I would rather see gold sitting at $1,800 and not have to, worry about my safety when I leave the house. The amount of crime that is coming to America is going to be epic. But when, I know a lot of people are hoping and praying that, gold and silver is it is going to skyrocket. But careful what you wish for, because everything else is going to skyrocket with it, like violence, like crime, like food shortages, like very, very dangerous times in America. And so, yes, I believe we're going to see extreme prices in the metals market, but I think we're going to see some very other extremes take place, and not ones that I'm looking forward to. Here's another one. Bankrupting American companies at relentless pace. 110 U.S. companies declared bankruptcy so far this year, beginning in March. Many were in deep, very serious trouble before March. They were already in trouble a year ago, year before. The hardest hit right now, these companies, they are selling off assets and closing for good, permanent closings. Others are reorganizing, they're downsizing, meaning they're going to be closing a lot of stores, more vacant commercial real estate, and more unemployment coming to America. We're going to see a lot of small mom and pop businesses, unfortunately, in the future follow this pace. Many of them will be closing permanently, many of them filing bankruptcy, many of them just not going to have the ability to stay in business like some of these larger companies. But even many of these large companies, of the 110 U.S. companies that have filed bankruptcy, many of these are very, very big companies, big stores, big retailers, big restaurant chains, and they're having trouble. So what do you think the small retailer, the small mom and pop shops, the small mom and pop restaurants are doing right now? What we are about to see is going to be absolutely horrific, horrendous, appalling. It's going to be historic. Right now, we are watching history in the making. We are at a place that I wish we were never going to be at, but here we are. And this is why it's so important to be preparing on a daily basis. Everybody today had another opportunity to buy a little security, buy a little water, to buy a little food, buy an ounce of silver, buy an ounce of gold. Look, all this stuff, whether it's brass, food, whether it's gold, whether it's silver, this stuff is going to be harder and harder to get. It's going to take more of your dollars to buy these assets. And at some point, they're going to be probably nearly impossible to acquire. I want to share one last article with you that was on The Hedge today. It's titled, Federal Reserve, Everything is Fine, Just Like 2008. And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about yesterday with Bank of America ATM shut down, and trusting in the system. Here's what the article says. I'm going to paraphrase. Yes, everything is fine despite the fact that large sections of the economy have shut down. Tens of millions of people are unemployed. Countless businesses have failed and will never reopen. Social issues across the country. Second wave of the infection is now hitting the US. Other than that, everything is fine. So whatever you do, don't worry about the banks. I thought that was a really good article making some really good points there. Don't worry about the banks. Every time I see an ATM shut down, when I've been to a bank that is temporarily closed, when a bank can't give me a certain amount of cash, I begin to get concerned. And so many people have written me on Facebook, so many people wrote in the comments saying the same thing. ATMs shut down, they were blaming it on the infection. But I think so many people now are getting so worried and so concerned about what's going on. They're going to the ATMs, they're pulling out as much cash as they can on a daily basis. They're going into the banks, they're pulling out cash. And, I've got to tell you, who can blame anybody? Being your own central bank, being responsible for your own money, you're going to be much better off than trusting the system, than trusting these banks. These banks are the problem. They are the criminals. Okay? They are the problem. And if we don't see more bailouts, at some point we're going to see bail-ins. And this is when things are going to get absolutely bananas. I mean, this is when banks now go into your accounts and take part of your money, maybe all your money. They go into your safety deposit boxes. They rob those. If these banks get into enough trouble, and look, I believe that many of these banks are in very big trouble. All we have to do is go back to last summer and look at the repo injections and the emergency that flared up beginning last summer, and banks not having cash, where now the Fed had to step in and pump in billions of dollars into the banking system. The banking system is not as strong as you think. The banking system is very fragile. I believe we're going to see some very well-known banks get into very, very big trouble here. And it's another reason why you should not be trusting in the banking system, and why you should be your own bank, your own central bank, putting cash and assets where you can access them in a time of emergency. Because in a time of emergency, here's what's going to happen. Your ATM's going to be closed. Your bank's going to be closed. If you're lucky, maybe they're going to give you $100 a day to take out of your account, if you're lucky. But what happens when we start seeing some of these big banks begin to crash? What happens? What are you going to do if you cannot access your money? If you cannot access your safety deposit boxes where you have your assets sitting in? Very dangerous. I don't give financial advice, but I think you should really think about what's going on, and you should really think about, do you really trust these entities? Have they really been forthright with you? Look at the amount of corruption and crimes that these banks have committed over the last decade. Just Google it. How many massive fines they got, but these were just drops of water in the pool. I mean, these banks have manipulated markets, they've manipulated countries, they've manipulated gold, they've manipulated silver. There's so much manipulation. They're manipulating the stock market. So do you really trust these criminals? Something you have to ask yourself. I don't. I would much rather have cash and assets put in multiple locations that I can get to in a time of need. I do not trust the system. I do not trust this government. I do not trust the banks. And I do not trust these politicians who continue to tell us everything is okay, just like I don't trust the people on the television wearing a fancy suit on a business show or a financial show telling you and I that everything is okay. You need to be investing in these massive bubbles. These people are paid for puppets. Don't forget that. They work for the banks. They work for these giant corporations. You know, the same ones. They're taking the triple P loans while the little pizzeria or the little store owner is going out of business, losing everything he or she worked for. Get out of the system. Don't trust the system. Be your own central bank. Be your own security. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it there today. What is happening is absolutely appalling. What we are watching take place in this country. The criminality, the brainwashing, the conditioning, it's insane. And if you are not awake and paying attention to what is going on, you are going to be a casualty. You will be a statistic. You're going to get wiped out. You are going to wake up one morning into a nightmare. God bless every one of you. Thanks for watching. Share this video with everybody. Give it a thumbs up. Make sure you hit the bell notification. And just get the word out. Time is running out. There's no doubt. Time is running out. Pray for America. This country needs a miracle.